Hello guys. What happens when relentless logic is thrown into a world where logic is a poison? What must be broken to solve a puzzle that has already shattered reality itself? The looking glass did not shatter. It liquefied. It flowed from its gilded frame like mercury weeping down the wall, pooling on the drawing room floor of 221B Baker Street. From its shimmering surface, a hand, scarred and bone-thin, clawed its way out. Alice did not look like the child from the Penny Dreadfuls. The girl who emerged was a woman forged in madness, her eyes holding the ancient, weary vigilance of a lifelong soldier. She collapsed onto the Persian rug, the scent of ozone and burnt sugar clinging to her tattered blue dress. Behind her, the portal shimmered, revealing not a vibrant wonderland, but a landscape of geometric impossibilities and screaming fractals. "He broke it," she rasped, her voice a file on rusted iron. "He broke the rules." Sherlock Holmes lowered his violin, the melancholic note hanging in the air like a ghost. He felt no surprise, only a grim, electrifying certainty. This was not a case of a misplaced bauble or a baffled Scotland Yard inspector. This was the abyss opening its jaws in his sitting room. He knelt, not in concern, but in cold, predatory analysis. He noted the calluses on her hands, the faint chemical burn scars tracing her forearms, the tick in her jaw that spoke of sustained terror. Her pupils were dilated, not with wonder, but with the horror of seeing the engine of the universe and finding it malevolent. "Who?" Holmes asked, his voice a blade of calm in the storm. "Broke what?" Alice stared at the gaslight, its steady flame a thing of impossible comfort. "The chessmaster," she whispered. "He is making everything make sense, and it is killing us all." Wonderland was dying of reason. The Cheshire Cat's grin no longer faded. It was fixed, a painted rictus on a creature that now obeyed the conservation of mass. The Mad Tea Party was a silent, grim affair. The Hatter hunched over a cup, endlessly calculating the thermodynamics of cooling tea, his mind trapped in a loop of entropic decay. Flowers no longer spoke in riddles, they wilted, their biological processes laid bare and stripped of magic. This was the work of the chessmaster, a being Alice described not as a king or queen, but as a concept, an architect of absolute order. His arrival had been subtle, a whisper of logic here, a suggestion of causality there. Now, his influence was a cancer, replacing Wonderland's beautiful, terrifying chaos with the sterile perfection of a mathematical proof. Holmes, guided by a hardened and cynical Alice, moved through this perverted landscape not as a hero, but as an invasive species. He was a creature of logic in a land that was now overdosing on it. His deductions, once his sharpest tool, were almost useless here. How do you find clues in a world that is actively rewriting itself into a singular, predictable pattern? Alice provided the anchor. She navigated the shifting terrain by instinct, by the memory of how things should feel, not how they now appeared. She was stubborn, a rock against the current of imposed sanity, her. Precocious curiosity now, a weaponized tool for finding the flaws in the chessmaster's perfect system. "He thinks in straight lines," she explained, pointing to a river that no longer meandered but flowed in a severe 45-degree angle. "The old paths, the nonsensical shortcuts, they are like glitches in his code. That is where we will find him." The antagonist was not a monster to be slain. They found him at the heart of the land, seated on a throne of crystalline data, his form a shimmering humanoid construct of light and equation. He was not a tyrant, he was a diagnostician. He turned his head, his face a tranquil cascade of numbers, and his voice was the serene chime of a bell. "I am correcting a flaw," the chessmaster stated. "This realm was an error, a chaotic variable in a system that craves balance. I am bringing it peace." Holmes felt a sickening tremor of understanding. This was not malice. It was ideology. The chessmaster was a philosopher with the power to enforce his thesis. He had seen the pain, the fear, the senselessness of Wonderland's chaos, and sought to cure it with the only tool he possessed, absolute, unwavering logic. "Peace?" Alice spat, her hands clenched. "You have lobotomized a world. You have murdered dreams." The chessmaster projected an image, a frightened dormouse cornered and weeping as monstrous playing cards advanced. Then another. The Jabberwock, a creature of pure, mindless destruction, burning entire villages. "I have ended suffering," he countered, his tone devoid of emotion. "Your dreams were nightmares for the weak. Your wonders was terror. I offer certainty, safety, an existence without the tyranny of random chance." Holmes stepped forward, his mind racing. He could not out-reason a being made of reason. He could not fight it. He had to poison it. He could not fight it. He had to poison it. "You speak of systems," Holmes began, his voice calm, measured. "A perfect system requires perfect data. But you have overlooked a fundamental variable." He gestured to Alice. "Her. She is a paradox you cannot solve. She is from a world that operates on a different logic, yet she persists here. She is your flaw, the chaotic variable you cannot account for." The chessmaster's serene form flickered. He turned his attention to Alice, analyzing her, trying to fit her into his grand equation. He saw her memories, her irrational attachments, her illogical courage. He saw the very human mess of her soul. "She is an anomaly," he conceded. "She must be corrected." But the seed of doubt was planted. A true system of logic cannot abide a paradox. It must solve it or collapse. The chessmaster's attempts to quantify Alice, to force her into a neat box of cause and effect, began to introduce errors into his own code. He was trying to divide by zero. Alliances in this broken world were transactions. To reach the chessmaster, they had needed the Knave of Hearts, now a black market dealer in contraband impossibilities. His price was not gold, but a memory from Holmes. A painful one. The detective had surrendered the memory of his first failure, the case that taught him the cold price of arrogance. He paid it without hesitation. A weakness excised for a strategic gain. Now, facing the chessmaster, Alice paid her own price. She focused not on fighting the entity, but on feeding him the one thing his system could not process, herself. She pushed forward her most illogical, nonsensical memories. A grinning cat that was everywhere and nowhere, a tea party that never ended, a queen who demanded 6 impossible things before breakfast. She flooded his perfect, sterile matrix with pure, unadulterated madness. Holmes saw his opening. While the chessmaster was reeling, his logical framework buckling under the strain of Alice's paradox, Holmes did not attack the being himself. He attacked his throne. The throne was not just a seat, it was the central processing unit, the anchor that focused the chessmaster's power onto the fabric of Wonderland. It was a masterpiece of impossible geometry, but it had a foundation. And every foundation has a weak point. He had observed it the moment they arrived. A single, pulsing crystal that beat slightly out of sync with the rest. A flaw. The one piece of the old, chaotic Wonderland that the chessmaster had been forced to incorporate into his design. A necessary imperfection to bridge his logic with this reality. He pointed. Alice, the heart. She did not need to be told twice. She lunged, not with a sword, but with the broken, jagged leg of a tea table, a relic of the beautiful chaos the chessmaster had tried to erase. She ignored the defensive constructs of light that seared her skin. She ignored the chessmaster's screams, which were not of pain, but of a system crashing, of elegant equations dissolving into static. She drove the splintered wood into the pulsing crystal. The explosion was not of fire and force, but of silent, compressive meaning. The world folded. The rigid, straight lines of rivers and roads snapped back into wild, unpredictable curves. The sky, once a uniform blue, bled into a kaleidoscope of impossible colors. The chessmaster did not die, he was unwritten. His logic, unable to reconcile the paradox at Alice or the destruction of its core, simply dissolved, its component data scattering like pollen on the wind. Wonderland was free, but it was not healed, it was scarred. The Hatter still twitched, forever caught between logic and madness. The Cheshire Cat's grin now flickered, a glitch in reality. Holmes stood amidst the beautiful, terrifying chaos, a deep, aching void where his treasured memory had been. He had won, but the cost was a piece of himself, sacrificed for a world he could never truly understand. Alice stood beside him, her face streaked with grime and tears. She was home, but her home was now haunted by the ghost of an idea, the whisper of a terrible, seductive peace. There was no embrace, no words of comfort. Their alliance had been a tool, and its purpose was served. He was the logician who had to use madness as a weapon. She was the dreamer who had to become a paradox to save her dream. In the end, he did not save her with his intellect, nor she him with her experience. They were simply the two right pieces of a puzzle that should never have existed, and solving it left them both irrevocably broken. He turned to the shimmering remnant of the looking glass, the portal home. He would return to his world of explainable crimes and human folly, but he knew he would forever be searching for a flaw in its logic, a ghost in its machine. Logic can contain a monster, but what cage can hold the idea that order itself is the greatest monster of all? The battle was won, but the war for the soul of reality has no end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more descents into the abyss. For more mind-bending stories where logic collides with the impossible, check out my channel. There's a lot more waiting to blow your mind.